The movie begins with a mysterious spaceship moving at a tremendous speed. A man and a woman desperately try to store data in a computerized structure. The man, whose name is Jor-El, is planning to send all the knowledge of his planet off-world in a rocket capsule. He and his wife, Laura, are in a hurry. Jor-El has to imprint his genetic code inside the machine to continue his, while others think this task requires nothing but his fingerprints. But just as Jor-El is about to complete this mission, he is attacked by Zod and his army. Everything had been planned, and the only thing left to do is fertilize one of Laura's eggs with his own DNA to ensure the birth of their son, Kal-El. The plan is unexpectedly stopped midway through when General Zod breaks in and blasts off Jor-El's hand. As Krypton is dying, Jor-El wants to make sure that even if he dies, his legacy lives on. Lara shouts at Zod to let them go, but he ignores her pleas. Zod then goes to Jor-El and taunts him for listening to the council members and not him. He notices the incubator pod and threatens Jor-El for opposing him. That's when Jor-El accuses Zod of destroying their planet. He blames the general for taking out Krypton's citizens, and Zod replies that he had just been given insufficient data. Despite being warned, Zod persisted in his plan to build a war machine and destroy the planet. Zod goes on to say that his army needed the energy from Krypton's core. He even claims that he could have been successful if only he had the required support. Despite having been severely warned against tapping into the molten core of Krypton to power his war machine, Zod ignored all his old colleagues and initiated the doom of their civilization anyway. Now Zod wants his child to be born instead of Kal-El. He continues to boast about how his child will be the last of Krypton, hoping his offspring will grow up to conquer whichever planet it lands on. Zod inserts his finger into the pod and fertilizes the egg. Zod blows up a rocket capsule after pressing the button. The rocket then streaks into the sky just as Krypton explodes. It flies through the sky as the egg starts dividing. While passing through deep space, the incubator successfully creates a baby boy. The baby continues to grow and gets stronger inside the pod. Just as the baby opens his eyes, the pod halts and lands in a rural region of the Texas-Mexico border. Soon, many officers and federal agents reach the site. Among them is Lex Luthor. All the officers there are his men, who have completely barricaded the area. Luthor walks towards the pod and observes the pink fluid inside. When he sees the pink liquid, he asks his army what's inside it. One of them replies that they don't know. He's told that some farmers just found the pod empty. Luthor nods in understanding and orders his army to not let this news out. He says that this is code black and plans to track the space object's origin in order to know what lies inside it. As they leave, a couple hides from them with a baby boy in their arms. The couple are Mexican migrant workers who found the crashed pod way before Lex Luthor. As they saw the child inside, they wanted to take him and adopt him as their own instead of handing the poor baby over to federal agents and government bodies. Years have passed since the incident. The Kryptonian has now grown up to become Superman, but he's a lot more aggressive and violent. His upbringing had been rough. He grew up as the child of illegal immigrants on the margins of society. Superman now leads a team of notorious crime fighters. They consist of Batman, Dr. Kirk Langstrom, Wonder Woman, and Becca. Collectively known as the Justice League, the team watches as mob enforcers barge into government buildings and attack them. They eliminate their targets without any remorse, which is why they're always under Steve Trevor's radar. Since they're really violent and strong, the public has a very mixed opinion of them. On one similar occasion, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman attacked a bunker and brutally eliminated everyone there. Their strength makes it impossible to hold them off. Trevor orders Superman not to do anything until they get there, but he ignores the command. By the time Steve reaches the bunker, everyone is already dead. After seeing the bloodbath, he asks them if it was necessary, to which Becca replies that the enemies had gotten rambunctious. That's when Trevor informs them that the bunker was embassy property, which they had completely destroyed. Superman assures Trevor that it's all right and gives him the chip along with all the wanted criminals. After that, the team flies from there. Soon, Trevor goes to meet the president to discuss the Justice League, which has protected the citizens but also traumatized them. The public is terrified of them and wants to tear them down. Some people think they're no less than gods, while others think that they're monsters. Wonder Woman watches the protests from above and just mocks them while Superman keenly watches the news. He sees that the team is getting slandered left, right, and center, and is even being called a terrorist organization. An interview is also shown in which Lex Luthor openly criticizes them. He talks about how the Justice League has immense power, and sooner or later, it could harm everyone around them. Superman gets annoyed at the news and turns it off. Becca then tells him not to listen to it anymore and just mind his own business. That's when he tells Kirk and Becca that he wants to bring peace to the world and help them find a singular purpose. He wants to control the world, which Becca openly opposes. Just then, Kirk tells them that Silas Stone has come to meet them. Silas is one of the most brilliant men on the planet, and with his help, Superman plans to do something extraordinary. Meanwhile, Dr. Victor Fries is at the Arctic Circle for some work. There, he feels as though he's being followed. Victor looks around and sees a terrifying monster. He tries to escape, but it's to no avail. The robotic monster attacks him and leaves a vampiric bite mark on his neck. On the other hand, Dr. Ray Palmer is working on a phenomenon called molecular miniaturization. This would help them make the world more sustainable. Just as he's about to go to the senator to present his idea and samples, Dr. Palmer and his son, Ryan, are murdered by a robot that mimics Wonder Woman's sword and high heels. Silas and his son, Victor, are also burned by a robot that can imitate Superman's heat vision. When Batman visits his old friend, Will Magnus, he's told that something is being planned against the Justice League. Will and his wife, Tina, are worried about Batman, as he's a pseudo-vampire, and no cure has been found to treat his condition. Kirk, Will, and Tina are all old college friends who were taught by Lex Luthor to use their minds for helping and improving mankind. When Kirk was suffering from lymphoma, he decided to use an experimental cure of bat venom and Will's nanites to destroy his tumor. The experiment was successful, but it also had some major drawbacks. This experiment had accidentally made Kirk vampiric. As a result, Batman has been on the run ever since. That was until he was found by Superman, who convinced him to use his condition to punish criminals. The very next day, Steve Trevor and the Justice League reach Silas' lab to investigate further. Superman goes inside and sees Silas and Victor's burned bodies. He's shocked to see the situation. After the investigation, all of them go back to their headquarters, where Batman informs Becca and Superman about Dr. Ray Palmer and Dr. Victor Fries passing away. Having no other option, Batman hacks into Will's computer, where he learns all about Project Fair Play. He sees that all the scientists that were eliminated have been involved in the project. This means that the others are in danger as well. On the other hand, Superman invites Lois Lane to the Watchtower after finding out that someone is trying to frame them. He explains to her that he had hired Silas to fix the corrupt data from his spaceship in hopes that it might contain data that could help him make Earth a better place. He even shows Lois the pod he came from that he had forcefully taken from the government. Superman then tells Lois all about his biological father and talks about how Krypton could have been saved if only people had listened to Zod. Lois finds this sarcastic and admits that she knows all about Superman's plan. He wants to use Lois to show the world his real side now that there are impersonators of him who are eliminating people. Such accusations could make everyone turn on him. After some intense convincing, Lois agrees to help Superman and drives away. Batman goes back to Will, whose life is in danger. There, he sees Will arguing with a woman. It seems that the woman is also a part of Project Fair Play and is very scared for her life. She storms out angrily after Will refuses to accept Kirk as the murderer behind it all. That's when Will finds Kirk lurking around. They talk for a while. But as soon as he mentions the project, Will becomes serious. He refuses to talk about it, so Kirk walks away. Before he leaves, he promises Tina that he'll always protect them. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman goes to visit her old flame, Steve Trevor. There, she asks him if he needs a partner, and Steve replies that he doesn't. Trevor knows that Becca's there to know what the forensic team has put together. He refuses to tell her, and the two get into a fight. Becca defeats Steve, and he mocks her by bringing up their romance. He eventually tells her that Ray Palmer's murder weapon is very similar to Wonder Woman's sword and walks away. Becca is taken aback by this news and begins to reflect on her time with Steve. The scene then shifts to a flashback where it's revealed that Becca was to be wed to Orion, son of Darkseid. As the wedding proposal continues, Becca starts to think that Orion is different and more thoughtful. Because of his kind gestures, Becca truly fell in love with Orion. Both of them love each other a lot and want to devote themselves to one another, but on the day of their wedding, Becca's grandfather betrays the truce and eliminates Darkseid along with his lieutenants. Orion tries to stop him, but gets eliminated in the aftermath. Heartbroken, Becca uses her wedding gift, the sword with a mother box built in that was gifted to her by Orion, to escape and plan her revenge. Back to the present, Batman spies on a meeting of the surviving scientists being held at Will's house. He tries to listen to their conversation, but suddenly the robots appear. He tries to fight them, but they're too strong. All the scientists except Will are eliminated. Even Tina gets brutally murdered. Just as they're about to eliminate Kirk and Will, Superman and Becca appear. They fight off the monsters but fail to get any information on who's doing all this. Soon after, Will is taken back to the Watchtower, but he's severely burned and injured. Superman is enraged with how far this has gone. After concluding that only Luthor can provide the answers he seeks, Superman locates him in a space station behind the moon. There, he finds out that Luthor is now heavily crippled. He also comes to know that Project Fair Play was nothing more than a mission to eliminate the Justice League in case they went haywire. Inside the space station, Lex finally reveals the truth to Superman about Zod being a madman who destroyed Krypton. He also explains how Zod destroyed all of Krypton to give birth to Superman. Lex then tells Superman that President Waller has the real data from his ship. After finding out about all this, Superman leaves. Right then, the robotic monster appears and blows up the entire space station. Waller sees the footage and notices Superman in it. They become certain that the Justice League wants to take over the world. Finally, they decided to implement Project Fair Play. All of Metropolis is evacuated, and the military prepares to attack. Back at the Watchtower, Tina appears out of nowhere. Kirk is shocked to see her alive, but it seems as though Tina's body has been possessed by something else. She throws Batman to the side and goes straight toward Will. She then injects him with fluid, and Will's eyes open. On the other hand, Superman and Wonder Woman try to reason with the military and Steve, but it ends in a massive fight. Inside the tower, Kirk sees that Will is back to his original form. That's when he reveals that it was he who was behind all this and that he used his nanite technology to heal himself. He also admits that, much to his regret, he accidentally eliminated Tina in a fit of rage. To avoid suspicion, he replaced her with Platinum. Will always knew that Tina was in love with Kirk and not him. He also knew that Kirk felt the same way. Because of this, he eliminated Tina and had a great revelation. Will then confesses that he used his robots to organize this great mission. He wants to inject nanotechnology into all 7 billion people in the world to control them. He plans to rid the world of chaos and destruction that way. But in order to do this, he needs Superman's ship. With such a massive source, he can power the bomb to spread nanites to every person on the planet and link them into one hive mind. Outside, the battle is ongoing, and people are getting eliminated. Just as they're about to lose, Luthor arrives via a boom tube and reveals that the Justice League has been framed to buy more time. After learning about it all, Batman goes to fight Magnus while Superman destroys all the metal men. Wonder Woman finally sends Platinum into the sun with a boom tube. Since the bomb has already started ticking, Superman tosses his ship into space, which allows it to explode harmlessly. Magnus finally realizes that he's done something unforgivable and uses nanites to turn himself to dust. Weeks pass by, and now the world has come to see the Justice League in a positive light. Even Lois Lane publicly talks about how the Justice League is just misunderstood. They're here to protect all the citizens. Becca decides to go back home to face her past, and Luthor accompanies her. Before leaving, Luthor reveals that he stole the data back from Waller. He tells Superman to become a real hero and use it to help people. After they leave, Superman tells Batman that it's time they actually stayed out of politics and started focusing on the well-being of the common people. Batman agrees but is unsure of how long they'll be able to stay away from domestic politics. The movie ends with a beautiful photo of Will, Kirk, and Tina.